And now let's also have an expert analysis on this. And for this, I'm joined by Professor Gulshan Sachdeva from the School of International Studies, JNU. Good afternoon, sir. Now, keeping in view the sensitivities of energy supply, the centre took swift action and came up with the order, agreeing to the fact that the conflict has affected liquefied natural gas shipments through the Strait of Hormuz. While the supply will now be ensured based on priority sectors, tell us how will it benefit the common people and which sectors will have to wait further?
Well, thank you. This is a very precautionary kind of measure which government has taken before there is any kind of crisis or problem in the country. Now, at the moment, as you know, situation is pretty serious in a sense that already now there's 11th day of war. And yesterday we also saw the kind of volatility which can happen in the energy market. The oil prices yesterday were, more than 115 barrels. And today it has come back after certain developments to close to 90. But you never know, depending on, how things move from day to day onwards. But one thing is quite certain that in the next, at least foreseeable future, in the next few weeks, there is going to be volatility. And even if they stabilize, they'll stabilize at a relatively higher rate. Yesterday maybe the things were going up to 120, 115, but today, when the certain measures have been taken internationally, all the G7 countries have met. The President Trump has issued certain warnings to Iran about the closing of Strait of Hormuz, and International Energy Agency has also advised all its members to supply or open all their strategic reserves. So there is a bit of a change since yesterday's position. But as we know that the war is still pretty going on. I mean, it may take longer. And many of the production centers within the Gulf region, they have been targeted and production has been stopped. The transportation is problematic. So obviously any government which is responsible government has to look into all these conditions, and they're trying in various ways. I mean, this one order is just for the domestic, managing supply, control and production of gas in India. But there are many other things. I mean, the diversification of imports. Now perhaps we had stopped buying because of the way I think India-US deal and other things were happening. So imports from the Russian crude for the last 1 or 2 months was somewhere around 1 million barrels a day. It may go up now. Similarly, India is also trying to find other sources from Latin America and also from Africa. So, and then of course we do have pretty, significant strategic reserves of about 250 million barrels, which are, to my understanding, about 80% are already filled. So this can easily, even if there is a serious crisis in crude oil, at least about 50-60 days, India can live with all strategic reserves. And there was advice from, as I said, from the International Energy Agency to others, to members, basically to release their strategic reserves. Since India is not a member, full-time member of the IEA, so we haven't really agreed to release, basically keeping in mind any kind of eventuality, so we have at least sufficient reserves already in place. So and of course the RBI is also looking at the situation very carefully, because once the prices of oil goes up and other energy sources, that there is also a pressure on Indian currency or many other currencies as well. So they are also making their own interventions. Already we have seen there is some pressure already on rupee, and because once you have oil prices have gone up, and if there is a pressure on rupee, then there is a tendency towards inflationary pressures in other areas as well. So large number of areas in which I think the government has to really work. And as in fact we have seen with the statement, Sumoto statement which was given by External Affairs Minister in the Parliament, basically India is looking, as he very clearly outlined, three major things. One is that India is urging all parties basically, to come to negotiated table and de-escalate the situation. And second, because a large, India is dependent a very significant energy from the Gulf region. India is very looking at the energy security situation very carefully, that Indian consumer is not really affected. And of course, we also have about 10 million people living in this region. So their well-being is also, is very main priority for India. At the same time, we have also seen really serious disruption in the in the aviation sector, because this region is also a very important hub for India's
Right.
for India's kind of air transport to Europe, US, and also to this region as well. So there are in fact various fronts
Right.
where India, of course, is trying to work politically and also trying to talk to them. The Prime Minister, as you mentioned, he already talked about 8 or 9 leaders in the region.
Right.
External Affairs Minister has also talked to them. So, we are working as we can, but of course, situation is very complicated and we can only influence to an extent. Only thing what we can do is that since, this really affect your energy and also many industries and also economy, so how do we really have to day keep watching and then working accordingly? This is what I think the government is doing.
Professor Sachdeva, this also brings us to another important question, is that for how long will this plan work and what happens if the conflict really continues for a longer duration?
Well, we don't know. I mean, the situation is very complicated at the moment. When you start any particular kind of conflict, it looks, that as if it's, this is what perhaps, when President Trump announced, he thought maybe it's going to be a shorter operation as they did in Venezuela. But we have also seen what has happened in Ukraine. The President Putin also thought that, he'll wind up everything in a couple of days. And now we are in the 5th year of that conflict continuing. So here it may not really take that long, but definitely, already we have seen this 11th day today. Although there is a very significant, very serious damage to Iran, to the infrastructure, to their air power, to their navy, but still they are continuing to fight. They are continuing, and they one Ayatollah Khomeini has gone, and the new Ayatollah Khomeini is back. So the leadership is still intact, and they have also said that we are willing to fight for our own sovereignty, for our independence. So, and as situation, deteriorate, or in fact the situation become different, then even the international geopolitical situation also changes. I mean, there are reports, and even the President Putin himself has mentioned that Iran is our partner, so they may be supplying certain kind of assistance to them. The same is also true with some other countries like China. So once things start going in different direction, then you never know where it goes. But the trouble is, for a country like India and for many others, this is not just only about geopolitical and issues about international law, etc., which of course are very important questions. But at the same time, this really immediately have impact on your energy security. And this region is also a very important part, our trading partner. About 250 billion US trade takes place in this region. And we also have a lot of other plans as well. I mean, with Iran, we used to have with Russia, all these international north-south trade corridor. With other partners in the Gulf, we also have, plans for, India, Middle East, Europe economic corridors, and many other those kind of issues. All of those major plans obviously also goes to the background when the war is going on in this region. So these are serious difficulties. Some are things which are long term, some are long term economic implications, some are strategic and political implications, but you also have immediate implications which are basically policymakers have to really deal on day-to-day basis.
Right. All right. Thank you so much, Professor Sachdeva, for joining us and getting us a rounded perspective with that analysis on the developing situation.